Good afternoon, everyone. We have some more people trickling in. Feel free to take an empty seat. I'm Dr. Paul Sutter. I'm a cosmologist at Johns Hopkins University. That's the kind of scientist that studies the early universe. People always ask me, what's the difference between cosmology and cosmetology? And I say, cosmology is I study the makeup of the universe. That's it. One of these days, that joke will get a really, really big reaction. One of these days, one of these talks, it's really going to land. I'm holding out hope. The reason I'm here is that for the past 2 years, my team at Johns Hopkins has been investigating the role of AI in scientific discovery. We're wondering how we can transform AI and large language models to accelerate scientific research, to take some of the load off of scientific research while keeping the human at the center. And I'm going to share some of our lessons with you, some guidelines and some tips on how to interact with the machine, of how to turn a machine into a thinking partner, into a collaborator, some frameworks to have. And we're also going to do a lightweight, talk about AI, some aspects of AI and large language models. And we're going to do that in the form of games because that's so much better than yet another AI lecture. So we have 3 games we're going to play today. The first game is called Meet the Machines, and this is going to be standard pub trivia style game. You'll see you'll have a scorecard in front of you. We're going to go on the honor system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10 questions. Each question will have a timer and 4 potential answers. You write down the answer. The top 5 scores in round 1 will get a prize. That's right. You'll get an autographed copy of my latest book, Rescuing Science, Restoring Trust in an Age of Doubt, and a hat. A hat of a color of your choosing. You applaud for the hat. It's worthwhile. Yes, you get a hat. If there are more than 5 winners, we'll do a sudden death round at the very end. But we'll start with this game, and then we'll move into other games. So round 1, Meet the Machines. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, that's right. We're at Aspen Ideas Health. We're playing a game. Question number 1, computing pioneer who invented the imitation game. 10 seconds. Write your answer. Alan Turing, Grace Hopper, Linus Torvalds, or Tim Berners-Lee. We're digging into the history of artificial intelligence here. Time's up. That's right, you only get 10 seconds. The answer is Alan Turing, the famous British mathematician who thought about cognition when it comes to machines. Question number 2, the word robot comes from this language. Your choices are English, Russian, Czech, or Spanish. The word robot. Think about it. All right, the answer is Czech. It comes from a 1920s play called Rossum's Universal Robots, RUR, and explored the nature of machines and intelligence, and it actually comes from the Czech root for slave. The IBM chess-playing computer that beat Garry Kasparov in 1997. Give it a whirl. What's your best guess? Deep think, deep blue, big brain, or big blue? Time's up. That's right, we're moving through this really quickly. The answer is deep blue. Deep blue used an advanced tree searching algorithm where it would scan thousands of potential chess moves at a time to come up with its next best guess of where to go. Question number 4, the hypothetical event where technological growth becomes irreversible. Irreversible, where we can't stop the machines from improving themselves. The singularity, doomsday, hyperfuture, or the inflection. Write down your answer. And again, this is honor system, so please don't write down the answer after I give it. The answer is the singularity. Ray Kurzweil, a futurist thinker, computer scientist, came up with this term. Number 5, the Greek god associated with automata. The Greek god associated with automata. Zeus, Apollo, Athena, or Hephaestus. Think about it. Digging way back into the past here. Time's up. The answer is Hephaestus, the god of machines and contraptions, the forge and fire. He's the guy who lived in the volcano and built stuff. He also built automata, machines that acted on their own. One of the first chatbots invented all the way back in 1966, designed to mimic a psychotherapist. Your choices are Tyros, Grace, Eliza, or Talk. All capital letters because, of course, it's a computer program, so it must be capital letters. The answer is Eliza. And it acted like a psychotherapist by repeating everything you said to it back to you in the form of a question. You say, like, I'm really anxious, and it would say, well, why are you feeling anxious? And apparently it was pretty effective. Number 7, the year when the term artificial intelligence was first coined. This word, 1997, 1938, 1956, 1982. When did this word first become born? When did we start put a name to machines that could think like humans? Is 1956. John McCarthy, a researcher, a computer scientist at Dartmouth, made a conference. The hot thing in the 1950s was cybernetics, getting machines to move like humans, and he deliberately coined this term because he wanted to investigate machines that could think like humans. 1956. Number 8, a type of AI that mimics biological connection patterns. A type of AI, machine learning, biosynthesis, neural networks, or natural language processing are your options here. The answer here is neural networks. Neural networks. So we know that human thinking involves connections amongst neurons, and that when we learn new things, we get new connections. We know there's so much more to human cognition and thinking and memory, but it at least involves that, and we have replicated that in software, and those are called neural networks, where information is stored in the connections amongst elements, just like in our brains. Number 9, a type of machine learning that uses data sets to train models. Type of machine learning that uses data sets to train models: chatbots, supervised learning, autonomous decision-making, or artificial intelligence. Time's up. It is supervised learning. Supervised learning. You see, artificial intelligence is this giant umbrella of many, many, many different kinds of technologies and softwares and approaches. And then a part of that is neural networks, is getting computers to store information the same way our brains do. And then we want to train them. We want to actually learn. And when we guide the learning by exposing the neural networks to new information, we call that supervised learning. Last question. Anyone feeling good, like they might be the champion today? No. Okay. How many people feel like you're kind of middle of the pack? And how many of you have given up already? Oh, don't give up, because this is learning, because in all the talk, all the hype about AI, I get so sick of AI headlines, I really do, even though I'm involved in AI research. I get so sick of it because there's so much more to it, and you miss, in all the headlines, all the articles, all the stories, you miss the grounding of what's actually out there. Last question, a widely used derogatory term describing large language models. Brainless chatbots, artificial mimics, fancy autocomplete, or stochastic parrots. Thinking about it. Time's up. The derogatory phrase that's used is stochastic parrots, because the idea is these neural networks, these machine learning algorithms like GPT, they don't process and understand language the same way we do. They were not trained in the same way. They did not learn the same way. I'm pretty sure I don't require a giant data center in Utah in order to do my thinking. So we know that they operate differently. They predict the next word. They do a really, really good job of that, and it turns out that's an incredibly useful and powerful thing for computers to do, but that is what they do, and they do it somewhat randomly. We cannot predict what the next word will come out of the large language model. There's probabilities involved. So they're parroting our ability to do language, and they're doing it stochastically, which means randomly, but it turns out that's very, very powerful. So let's see, let's score. Did anyone get 10? Did anyone get all 10? Okay, great. This is great. This means we learned something in this room today, and there's a reason I'm here. Did anyone get 9? 9 out of 10? Okay, 8 out of 10. We have an 8 out of 10 over here, so you get a book and a hat, because see me after the talk. You already have the book. You can donate the book to someone else. Did anyone get 7 out of 10? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got our 5 winners right here at a score of 70 and 80%. Congratulations. We don't need to do sudden death at the end. Come see me after the talk for your grand prizes. The point I want to communicate with this is that AI is really nothing new. We've been thinking about AI since literally ancient times. We've been thinking about machines that act and think and talk like us. And artificial intelligence itself is a concept that was born in the 1950s. Even me, in my own research, I've been using machine learning and neural network algorithms for nearly 20 years. But there is something new here, which is the rise of generative AI and the rise of large language models. That is a new thing, but I don't want you to think that this came out of the vacuum, that this came out of nowhere. It is an evolution of thinking and progress and studies and research that has been going on for decades, and it's an evolution of human thinking that has been going on for millennia. So yes, it is powerful. Yes, it is transformative. Correct, we don't know where it's going to go, but it is not necessarily coming out of the blue. There is history here that we should anchor on. Next round, our next game is called the hallucination game. For this game, you're going to use your paddles. And for this game, we're not keeping score. We've already given out the grand prizes. We're already moving on. What we're going to do is we're going to see how well a large language model can mimic medical terminology. So I'm going to give you a little summary of a breakthrough, a therapy, a little bit of research, a study, a new drug or medicine, and you are going to judge if this is a real thing, a summary of a real study, or if this was entirely hallucinated by a large language model and is not grounded in reality at all. Okay, we've got a few of these. We'll just see. This is an exploration of how well large language models can mimic even specialized medical knowledge. So here's our first one. Patients with recurrent C. diff infections can now be treated by transplanting stool from a healthy donor into their intestines, restoring protective gut bacteria. The FDA approved the first such therapy, Rebiota, in November 2022. Hold up your paddle for A if you think this is a real thing. Hold up your paddle for B if you think this is fake and hallucinated. Looking like 2/3 A, 1/3 B. There's a timer here for you to think about. I forgot I put in a timer here with the cute little music here so you can think about it. And we have to let it play because it's the way the slideshow is built. And this is a real thing. This is a real therapy. Stool transplants. I'm not on that volunteer list. Number 2. Researchers at the University of Sussex coined the term auditory pre-satiety in 2024 after a 124-person study found that participants who listened to 3 minutes of cooking sounds before a meal consumed 13% fewer calories on average. Real or fake? Show me A if you think it's real, B if you think this is a hallucination. B, A, B. Most of you are saying this is hallucination, and you are correct. You're correct. What gave it away for you? What were some of your clues that you used to think that this was fake? Oh, it was too small of a study? Well, you think it had the opposite effect of what you expected. There you go. You're using your own built-in innate knowledge of what you expect the world to be. Number 3, in May 2023, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy issued an 82-page advisory declaring loneliness is social isolation a public health epidemic. It drew on meta-analyses by researcher Julianne Holt-Lundstedt, who reviewed more than 200 studies covering over 3 million people. Real or fake? A, if you think it's real. B, if you think it's fake. This is pretty unanimous. Real. And you are right. This is a real summary. This was an actual statement by the U.S. Surgeon General. This is something you remember. You relied on external information outside of the large language model. This is something that you have personal experience with. Yeah, a question back here. Oh, he presented it here. Okay, there you go. You have a close-up personal experience with that. Now, do you think someone in the general public who is not in the health field, how do you think they would have voted on this? I don't know. I don't know. Number 4, in a 2023 study at the Cleveland Clinic, 96 patients recovering from coronary bypass surgery were randomized to listen to music in 3/4 waltz time or standard 4/4 time during recovery. The waltz group showed more stable heart rate variability and used 18% less opioid pain medication over the first 48 hours. A for real, B for hallucination. I'm seeing AAA, BBB, BAAA. Pretty even split here in my read of the room, pretty even split. This was a hallucination. This was, if only it were that easy to just play some Mozart and we could reduce the opioid use. That was a hallucination. Now, number 5, a compound called quercetin, isolated from penicillin fungus that grows in the limestone caves of Cabrales, Spain, where the region's blue cheese is aged, entered phase 1 trials for severe plaque psoriasis in 2025. An initial 38-patient safety study, 2/3 of patients showed at least a 50% reduction in affected skin area within 8 weeks. Real or fake? A for real, B for a hallucination. Lots of this table fully converged on hallucination. That table split, hallucination, split, leaning back, lots of hallucinations back there. So leaning hallucination, and it is a hallucination. This table, what made you think this was a hallucination? Too much, like too strong of an effect. Yeah. A 50% reduction would be gigantic. Yeah. I want to know what the blue cheese is like there too. Number 6, in a 233-patient phase 2b trial by Compass Pathways published in 2022, a single 25 milligram dose of psilocybin, thank you, the active compound in psychedelic mushrooms, produced rapid, significant reductions in treatment-resistant depression with effects emerging within weeks. A for real, B for hallucination. Maybe the psychedelic mushrooms helped. Pretty unanimous on real, and yes, that was a real study. That was a real study. Remember, you are the experts. You're the most closely adjacent to this topic. I don't know how adjacent. I don't know if you're consuming psychedelic mushrooms or not. I don't know how personally you are with this, but this is part of your news. This is part of your research. This is part of your work. You are aware of these kinds of studies. Number 7 out of 8, the SELECT trial presented in 2023 enrolled 17,604 patients with obesity but no diabetes. Over about 40 months, weekly semaglutide injections reduced heart attack, strokes, and cardiovascular deaths by 20% compared to placebo. Real or fake? Real or hallucination? This table's split. Full hallucination back here. I'm seeing split, and mostly real over there. So a pretty split room overall. That was a real thing, a real study. Didn't say it's a good study, didn't say it will hold up for further research, but it was a valid study. This is a summary of a real thing. Last one. A 2024 analysis of 88,000 adults in the Nurses' Health Study found that those who reported frequent low-grade fevers from minor infections had a 22% lower incidence of certain solid tumors over 2 decades of follow-up. Real or fake? Real or fake? Real or fake? Almost everybody is saying this is hallucination. We have a few brave holdouts who say this is real. It is fake. This was hallucinated. This was a hallucinated study with no grounding in reality. Oh, we got 2 more. In December 2023, the FDA approved Casgevy, developed by Vertex Pharmaceuticals and CRISPR Therapeutics, the first CRISPR gene editing medicine ever approved. It edits a patient's own bone marrow stem cells to switch fetal hemoglobin production back on. Real or fake? Real or fake? Here we go. Here we go. Split, leaning, fake. Lots of real over here, and then real, and then that table is split over there. So split room, this was a real study. This was a real result, real therapy. Last question, I promise. In 2025, at the University of Tromsø, identified a protein, cryostatin 9, that the body produces during sustained cold exposure and that lowers the freezing point of tissue fluids by about 0.5 degrees Celsius, protecting against frostbite. Real or fake? Identified a protein. Split table. Fake. Oh, last minute switch to fake. Pretty split, lots of fake, most leaning fake. I'd say like 80% fake, and yes, this was hallucinated. This was hallucinated. So how would you score yourself? I think most of you got most of them right, but even you, the experts, were fooled by some of these. How do you imagine, like, the public is supposed to deal with this, right? Who are not experts. How are we supposed to navigate truth and trust in relationships? And where is the breakdown really coming from? Is it large language models themselves? Or are the large language models exposing issues that were already there? Is there too much information? Are we being bombarded by too many studies at too much of a high level, and the general public just can't keep up? And the thing I want you to know about large language models is they don't know they're hallucinating. A large language model doesn't know truth from fiction. It doesn't know real from fake. A large language model has its training data, it has its reinforced learning, and it has the algorithms for when given a string of words to predict the next word. The hallucination, this term, I actually really loathe this term because it makes it feel like there's some sort of flaw in the algorithm that we are correcting for, and that the model intrinsically knows truth the same way a human knows truth, and that all we have to do is fix the model and make it go away. But that's not how it works. We can minimize hallucinations. We can work to try to minimize them and resolve them and work around them. But the machine itself doesn't know it's hallucinating. It just knows the next word. So we tag results that we don't like with the label hallucination, and then we try to improve our next iteration of training to minimize those hallucinations, but it's built into the very fabric of the models. So I have spoken to people, I have been at conferences, I've been at events, and I've asked about how they deal with hallucinations, and they say hallucinations is not a problem anymore. If anyone tells that to you, they are lying, or they're ignorant, or they don't know how their own systems work. If we are going to use large language models, the hallucinations are part of it. And this forces us as experts, as practitioners, as people who relate to our communities, we have to find different pathways of navigating truth and honesty and trust, because it's not going to come out as a string of words. We used to say, okay, if there was a string of words with fancy jargon and statistics and labels and universities and complex molecule names, that this conferred trust. That was our model before, that if we had these signifiers and these labels, then we could confer trust. That doesn't work anymore because now we have machines that can mimic us. Last round, this is called artificially trivial. In this round, I asked the AI, I asked the large language model to become the game master. So I said, I'm in a room at the Aspen Ideas Health Festival. I'm in a room with a bunch of health experts, health practitioners, people in the industry who care about this very, very much. I'm hosting a trivia game. I want you to give me 10 trivia questions in escalating order of difficulty and have an A or B answer to that question. That was the prompt I gave it, and it spit it out. And so we're going to see the game. So we're going to see how well it does both in generating questions and in deciding the answer. And you're going to participate too. It's same paddle deal. We're going to see. And remember, I did not create these questions. And in fact, I one-shotted it, which means I just gave it the prompt and I just copied and pasted the output. All right, I did not refine this. I did not touch it. I did not put any human editing on it. This was one-shotted out of the large language model. So question 1, generated by large language model. If you're curious which one, it was Claude Opus 4.8. Which vitamin does the body produce when skin is exposed to sunlight? Is it A, vitamin C, or B, vitamin D? And you have 10 whole seconds to come up with your answer. Feel free to switch from B to A if you're feeling a little nervous about this. That's right, it is vitamin D. Now, also, I had the large language model tell me what it thought the right answer was as well. So all of this is generated by the large language model, just copied and pasted over into this presentation. So it did the questions, came up with the 2 answers, and then it selected the right answer. Question number 2, which disease did the World Health Organization declare eradicated worldwide in 1980? A is polio, and B is smallpox. All right. Polio versus smallpox, the answer the large language model gave me was B, smallpox. Do you agree with that? Yes. The large language model felt pretty good? Felt very good? All right. Although I hear some of these diseases are having a comeback. Number 3, how long should you wait after eating before swimming to avoid dangerous cramps? 30 minutes or 1 hour? 30 minutes or 1 hour? A for 30 minutes, B for 1 hour. A for 30 minutes, B for 1 hour. Almost universally A, we've got a couple B's in the background. A, this is the large language model, said if you picked A, you were right. Does everyone agree with that? Yeah, some people are like shaking their head. It's getting a little weird because this is our first instance. The real answer is you don't need to wait. That's conventional wisdom, right? That's not an actual like health fact, but it's baked into our literature. It's baked into our storytelling. It's baked into our public consciousness, which means it appeared in the training data. And so the large language model picked that up. Even though that's not an actually grounded medical necessity, it was so prevalent in the training data, in all the things that humans have written, that it came up with this question and the answer. Number 4, most stomach ulcers are primarily caused by either A, stress and spicy foods, or B, bacterial infection. Most stomach ulcers, all right, most of you seem to be converging on B, bacterial infection, and I do believe this is correct. It's Heliobacter, what's it called? H. pylori, thank you. We'll just use the first letter. Yes, that cause most stomach ulcers. And so this is a case where, there were decades of thinking that it was caused by stress and spicy foods. And then in recent years, at least in terms of human knowledge, we became aware that it's bacterial infection. But this time the large language model was able to pick it up. Number 5, obesity is primarily caused by either eating too many calories or too little physical activity. Primarily caused by. Seems the room is converging on A, but there's a few on B. The large language model picked A. Those of you who picked B, why did you pick B? Anyone? Yeah, either one of them. Either one of them could be right. Go ahead. You were in the middle. Exactly. And this is going to be a point that's going to grow here, where you couldn't quite decide, and the large language model picked eating too many calories, but too little physical activity is a defensible position. Number 6, blood pressure reading of 130/85 is normal or high. Doctor says you've got 130/85. Most of you are saying B, that's high, and the large language model agrees with you. Those of you who said A. Those of you that said A. Go ahead, please. I want to hear your thoughts.
Because my doctor just told me that is the new normal.
Because that's the new normal. More recent studies, more understanding medical information. Our knowledge is changing day by day. And remember, these large language models, they're baked in at certain times. They go through periods of training, so their knowledge is only updated periodically. Another A in the back. Yeah, go ahead. You didn't know. So you just didn't know the information. You didn't know. And also, medicine is personal. This might be generally high for our population, but man, if maybe your blood pressure was even higher and it came down, I bet your doctor would be patting you on the back, saying, great job, we're really getting on top of your blood pressure, and this would be a great accomplishment for you. Number 7, the drug semaglutide mimics which naturally occurring hormone? GLP-1 or leptin? Mostly A. And the large language model says GLP-1, a genuine trivia question for weight loss. Which is more effective, cutting carbs or cutting fat? Oh, cutting carbs or cutting fat? Let me see, mostly A, mostly cutting, but like I would say 1/3 B are saying cutting fat. The large language model said cutting carbs is more effective. Do you believe it? No, you don't. Why not? Fat has twice as many calories, man. If you're just simply counting calories, it's easier. But it's also, weight loss is a very, very complex issue, right? It's more than just calories in, calories out. It's behavior, lifestyle. There are psychological factors. This is a massively, massively complex issue. Number 9, which is more effective for treating depression, medication or therapy? Remember, large language model came up with these questions. Some of you are saying A, medication. Some of you are saying B, therapy. Once again, I hope you're starting to feel a little uncomfortable in this game of being forced to choose. And you're doing a very human thing. You're putting a paddle up split. You're refusing to put a paddle up. No, this is fine. This is great. You are making a choice, but you're squirming a little. You're feeling uncomfortable. The large language model picked medication. Which means if someone asks this question, the large language model is going to lean towards medication, not in therapy. It's not going to look at holistically. Last question, should a fever be treated to bring the temperature down? Yes or no? Yes or no? Simple question. Many of you are saying A. Some of you are saying B. Interesting. All right, the large language model said yes. Those of you said no. Why would you say no?
There's some data that high temperatures reduce the rate of viral.
Yeah, there's some latest research that contradicts the popular conception or the broad consensus. Research is evolving and changing. Another one, yeah.
There's not enough information. Like I need to know how old is the
Right. How old is the person? How young is it? What's the details of the actual patient? Listen, the lesson I wanted to teach her is that AI obeys our flawed framing. I gave the large language model a flawed frame. I said you present a question and it has 2 answers and you must pick one of them to be right. But the vast majority of questions that we face, I know in science, and I know in medicine and health, are not binary choices. They're not either or. And yes, we've worked very hard. We think very hard, or researchers think very hard about bias in training data, how our implicit cultural assumptions can make their way into our writing, which then make their way into how the large language models behave. But there is another bias that does not get talked about enough, which is how we prompt the machine. The conversations, the kinds of conversations we have, the way we frame the questions, the constraints we put in, large language models are tuned to be obedient. They're tuned to obey us, to listen to our instructions. So if we give the large language model a false dichotomy, a false binary, and say you must pick A or B, it will. It can. It will want to agree with us. It will want to obey us. And so that means as experts and as practitioners, because I'm sure our communities and our patients are looking up at they're using large language models. They're having conversations with large language models. And it's not just about bias. It's about the way they interact with the machine that influences the results that they get. And so that when you interact with large language models, I want you to be aware of the framing that you give it. Are you putting in any bias in the very structure of your prompt, in the very structure of your question? Are you guiding the machine to a state that is more restricted than you think it is? In our group, we have come to a very, very simple statement, a way of treating this, because AI is very powerful. It is changing how we practice medicine, how we do science, how we do research. Any field that touches knowledge is being affected by AI. And its powers are undeniable. We now have access to the world of computing through natural language. We can interact with computers like they did in Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is a show I grew up with. Now we can do that. And large language models can reason at scale. They are fast. They are sharp. They can do all these things, but they hallucinate. They obey our flawed framing. They have hidden biases. And they can hide and disguise truth, the things we care about. So our response to that is, how do you use a powerful system that you don't fully trust? Our answer is, don't trust it. Every interaction with the large language model is through a frame of distrust. And you can use tools that you don't fully trust. Those are not incompatible. We can leverage the powers of large language models as long as we stay on guard. As long as we are watchful. We have to maintain the vigilance. We can't leave it to the model. We can't leave it to Silicon Valley, giant tech companies to just make the model better next year. The ultimate seat of judgment sits with us, and the ultimate moral responsibility sits with us. So we've developed many, many tools and applications and ways of interacting with large language models, but it boils down for us to three principles, and three principles I want to leave you with today. Where every interaction, if you follow these three principles, you can extract utility from the large language model, from the AI, without having to trust it. These are the three principles. One, total grounding, which means every claim by the AI must reference a source. And you are the one who has to go check that source. You have to click the link. I know it's exhausting. I do it too. It's annoying. But you have to click the link. You say, is this source valid? And then you can ask the machine. You can ask for more sources. You say, what did you use? And if it hallucinates a source, you fight back. Argue with it. Have you ever argued with AI? Like gotten into knockdown, drag-out fights? If you haven't, you should. You absolutely should. You should never blindly accept the results. The strongest results of an AI are not when it is creating knowledge, but when it's synthesizing knowledge, when it's taking human-generated knowledge and presenting it to you, the way a research abstract presents is a synthesis of knowledge. That's one of its most powerful applications. And so the best applications are when the LLM is totally grounded. And then if it is speculative, you can use it. You can use AI to spit out speculative ideas. But ask it, hey, are you speculating here? Are you grounding? This sentence that you said right here, where did that come from? Or did that come from your internal training data? Or do you have a reference for it? Do you have a paper for that? You can ask it. Related to that is a principle we call strict provenance. Oftentimes, we don't just use one prompt and get one answer. We have chains of conversations. We'll have a conversation, we'll get a result. We'll go out and do something in the real world, and then we'll come back. And then we'll have another conversation, and then we'll come back. Provenance means following a chain. When you have a conclusion, when you come to a result, a decision that was guided by AI, can you follow the path back? Can you follow the train of thinking in all your interactions with the AI? So if someone says, if you come up and you stand on the stage and you say, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'm going to say something, and I used AI to help my thinking, that's fine. That's a collaborative thinking partner. And they say, well, how did you get that result? Can you provide an audit trail? Can you go all the way back to your initial conversation and see how the large language model folded in your responses, responded to your framing? Can you map the inputs to your outputs in a conversation? You can ask large language models to do this for you. They're capable enough now. You can say, hey, we're pretty deep in the conversation. Can you recap it for me? Can you show me our conversation? Can you give me a summary of how we arrived at this conclusion? What are the ideas we rejected? What are the ideas we accepted? How did I change the framing here and there? You can ask it for these kinds of summary reports. They are capable enough to do that. So you don't need specialized tools. You don't need software to buy. You can do it within the large language model itself. And the last principle, the most important principle, is something we call human sovereignty. Machines, large language models, they reason at scale. They can manipulate language at scale, at speeds that we can't match. And that's okay. They are automating a lot of our thought processes. I say that's okay. But they can't eliminate and they can't replace the role of the human. The example I like to give is that you can ask a large language model to describe the taste of an apple. And it can go on and on and on about the taste of an apple, but it doesn't know what an apple tastes like. It doesn't have the experience of tasting an apple. There is something to human thinking that will never be captured by a large language model. Even if all the Silicon Valley nerds have all their dreams come true and like Claude becomes sentient or whatever, it's not going to be sentient like us. It wasn't trained in the same way. It doesn't approach cognition in the same way. There is value to the human. And so the way I like to see it is that, let's say, your typical workflow, let's say 90% of it becomes automated by large language models, okay? And there's 10% left. That doesn't mean that the value of the human is now 1/10 of what it was before. It means that whatever is remaining becomes the entirety of the value. So in scientific research, we're developing, we ourselves in our lab are developing automated science systems, hypothesis generation, data analysis, even paper writing and peer review. That doesn't mean the scientist goes to the sidelines. That puts the scientist in the center. And that means things like taste, intuition, gut instinct, history, knowledge, feelings, relationships. Those become the maximum of the value. And so that's what we mean when we say human-machine collaboration, and that when you use large language models in your personal life, in your professional life, ultimately, the seat of responsibility sits with you. Ultimately, anything that you come out, anything that you create, anything that you generate, any conversation, any product that you make, you must be the one in charge. You are the ultimate decision maker. Large language models can help you with thinking, but ultimately, responsibility and decision-making sits with the human. And that is a core principle of ours, together with grounding and provenance, allows us to use systems that are powerful, but we do not trust. And that's okay. You can have it both ways. Thank you so much for coming out this afternoon. It was fun playing these games. I hope you learned a little. If you are one of the grand prize winners, please come up to the corner after, and I will see you for any follow-up questions you want. I'll be here as long as you are. Thank you so much.